The 9 remaining years of this decade could well be the turning point in humanity's bid to stave off the most devastating effects of climate change. With only a handful of exceptions, every government in the world has pledged to keep global temperatures to well below 2 degrees of pre-industrial levels. But to do that, radical action and cooperation between countries, the type of which has never yet been seen in human history, is going to be needed, starting now. Quite simply, if the necessary steps aren't taken by 2030, it'll be too late. So, can it be done? Can it be done fairly? What role will Europe play? And, crucially, how will it be financed? At a time when both governments and the private sector are reeling from the economic hurricane of the worst pandemic for a century or more. Over the next 4 hours, we'll be exploring practical solutions to these questions with a selection of the most important people anywhere in the world involved in making these decisions and seeing them turned into action. Coming up, we have Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission. Christine Lagarde is President of the European Central Bank. We'll hear from Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director of the IMF, and Amina Mohammed, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. Werner Hoyer is the President of the European Investment Bank. Frans Timmermans, Executive Vice President of the European Commission. Michael Bloomberg, the UN Secretary General's Envoy for Climate Ambition and Solutions. Oliver Bäte, Chairman of the Board of Management of Allianz SE. And John Kerry, the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate in the new Biden administration. Quite a lineup, and that is just the redacted version. Now, don't be intimidated. You don't need to run a major international institution to be part of today's events. It's also vital that you, the audience watching, are part of the conversation too. So please do get involved using the hashtag #InvestingInClimateAction. But first, let's remind ourselves of what's at stake.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
This is Europe's man on the moon moment.
We'll be taking a solution-based lens to the issue over 3 sessions today. Following opening remarks from the European Commission and European Investment Bank, we'll begin with Session 1, Getting Our Hands Green, a look at the political action needed across the continent. Then I'll be handing over to Joe Coburn at 3:40 CET for Session 2, a new green boom, which will drill deep into how the flows of finance around the world can be aligned with climate goals. Then, in our final session, at 5 CET, Climate Action Goes Global, I'll join Joe to explore how the world can work together, and if it can work together. But to begin the day's events, I'm delighted to be joined live from Brussels by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. But first of all, we've got a technical issue that we do need to sort out. So bear with us for a couple of seconds and we'll come straight back to the President of the European Commission in a few seconds' time, as soon as we get those lines up. I'm afraid we are living in these age of Zoom, etc. OK, for those of you who are staying with us, we're sorting out some streaming issues here in our links to Brussels. As soon as we sort that out, we'll come back to you in vision and we'll bring you the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. So please bear with us a little bit longer. Thank you. I thank you for bearing with us there. We now have our link to Brussels fully established. So I'm going to hand straight over to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. President.
Thank you so much, Sean, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this conference on the Make or Break Decade. A make or break decade for climate action. And indeed, the next 10 years must be a turning point. First and foremost for global CO2 emissions. Today, global emissions are still rising, and this has to change as a matter of urgency. Europe has decided to cut emissions by at least 55% already in the coming decade. This is to do our part and to show the way. We must act now before it's too late. And there is another factor that can make a difference between make or break. It's how we think about climate action. Climate action is not only a necessity, it is also the greatest economic opportunity of our time. We are on the edge of a transformation similar to the digital revolution of 40 years ago. In the 1980s, personal computers, mobile phones, and the World Wide Web saw the light. In a matter of a few years, businesses and consumers started asking for new services and products. New markets were created from nothing. We started to desire things that didn't even exist before. And a similar transformation is now happening again. Europeans are discovering new needs, from clean mobility to local organic food. Researchers are testing new clean technologies. And investors are seeking green investment opportunities. In a matter of a few years, we will change the way we move, the way we eat, the way we produce, you name it. So the question is, are we ready to catch this opportunity? I believe we are. Just one example. 55% of the world's new hydrogen projects are in Europe. Clean hydrogen is a textbook means towards our goal of climate neutrality. And Europe is investing in it more than any other global power. European business and investors understand the change that is about to happen. And they want to be the drivers of this change. They want to build Europe's leadership in the markets of tomorrow. And this is a central goal of the European Green Deal, together with fighting climate change. The European Green Deal is our roadmap towards climate neutrality. But it is also, and crucially, our new growth strategy. A strategy to make Europe more competitive on tomorrow's green markets. Thus, we are supporting the European Green Deal goals with an unprecedented wave of public investment. Over 280 billion euros from our recovery plan Next Generation EU will finance climate action. And then we have the new European budget. the new projects of European interest, and the impressive support from the European Investment Bank. And let me spend just a few words to say how glad I am for this joint event with the EIB. The EIB is redefining the role of a multilateral development bank, becoming Europe's climate bank. And you are showing the way forward for the critical decade, and I must say I'm really proud of that. So, public investment is coming. There are now 3 crucial tasks that we will have to tackle in the immediate future. First, we must ensure the quality of our investment. We should try and maximize the impact of every euro we spend in terms of environmental impact, but also of job creation and innovation. Second, we must work to mobilize as much private investment as possible. We need an investment revolution that goes well beyond the public sector to catch the green opportunities of the 2020s. And third, we must look beyond Europe's borders too. We must explore new forms of global cooperation on green finance towards a climate-friendly economy. Europe will be the first climate-neutral continent, but we don't want it to be the only one. And I want this decade to be the roaring 20s of climate action and climate investment. Europe must lead this change. It's our last chance to stop climate change. And it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to become global leaders in the economy of the future. So I wish you a fruitful conference, and I very much thank you for your attention.
President von der Leyen, thank you very much. I'm now equally delighted to bring you the European Investment Bank President, Werner Hoyer, speaking to us live from Luxembourg.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, I am delighted to welcome you on behalf of the European Investment Bank to this important conference. A special welcome to our co-organizer, the European Commission, under the leadership of Ursula von der Leyen and her Executive Vice Presidents, Valdis Dombrovskis and Frans Timmermans. Thank you very much